BRICS is reshaping the world order. Hit that like button and leave your thoughts in the comments. Trump in shock. BRICS and allies move to shake the U.S. economy. The world is witnessing an unprecedented shift in economic power, and the United States is feeling the tremors. BRICS, the powerful economic alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has made aggressive moves that have left Washington scrambling to respond. The financial markets have been in turmoil, and former President Donald Trump, known for his America First policies, is reportedly stunned by the recent developments. A growing sense of economic uncertainty. Something feels off. You can't escape it. The air is thick with economic unease. It's not just numbers on a screen, it's a deeper feeling of instability. On March 14th, the Dow Jones plummeted over 700 points, triggering panic among investors. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ followed suit. But this isn't just another bad trading day, it's a warning sign. The U.S. economy, long seen as the global anchor, is experiencing turbulence that is becoming impossible to ignore. As concerns mount, analysts point to the combination of domestic policy missteps and global economic shifts. The BRICS nations, once seen as rising challengers, are now actively reshaping the financial system in ways that directly undermine U.S. influence. $390 billion pulled out of U.S. bonds, a vote of no confidence. One of the most significant warning signs has been the staggering capital flight out of U.S. bonds. In just the last 3 months of 2024, over $390 billion have been pulled out by key allies and foreign investors. Countries like Brazil, India, Norway, China, and even Japan have begun reallocating their reserves away from the U.S. Why? The answer is simple: trust, or rather, the lack of it. The unpredictability of U.S. policy, combined with rising interest rates, has made American debt look far riskier than before. Investors and nations alike are no longer willing to keep all their eggs in the U.S. basket. Instead, they are diversifying into gold, the euro, and increasingly into alternative financial systems championed by BRICS. BRICS takes direct aim at the dollar's dominance. In a direct challenge to U.S. economic supremacy, BRICS is now accelerating efforts to bypass the dollar in international trade. China and Brazil have already established trade agreements using the yuan and the real instead of the U.S. dollar. India and Russia have been conducting business in rupees and rubles, while South Africa has been increasing its use of the yuan, and that's just the beginning. Introducing BRICS Pay and a new reserve currency. The biggest financial bombshell? BRICS is actively developing a blockchain-based global payment system that eliminates reliance on U.S. financial institutions. Known as BRICS Pay, this new system will allow members to conduct international transactions without ever touching U.S. dollars. Even more concerning for Washington, there are credible reports that BRICS is working on a new reserve currency that could directly compete with the U.S. dollar. If successful, this could erode the dollar's position as the world's primary currency, fundamentally changing the global financial landscape. U.S. allies are breaking away. America's closest allies are also signaling frustration with Washington's aggressive economic policies. Canada and the European Union have significantly increased trade with each other, reducing reliance on the U.S. Since 2017, trade between Canada and the EU has surged by over 50%. Meanwhile, Canadian officials have openly criticized the U.S. approach to tariffs, with Prime Minister Mark Carney leading efforts to strengthen ties with Europe instead of Washington. Retaliation. The world fights back against U.S. tariffs. The Trump administration's aggressive stance on tariffs has only worsened economic tensions. New reciprocal tariffs are set to take effect in April 2025, targeting everything from steel to technology exports. But the response has been swift. The European Union immediately announced retaliatory tariffs on classic American products like motorcycles, whiskey, and jeans, symbolic industries deeply tied to U.S. culture. China hit back with tariffs on American soybeans and pork, dealing a devastating blow to the agricultural sector. Canada, traditionally one of America's closest allies, introduced $15 billion in tariffs on U.S. goods, marking a new low in U.S.-Canada trade relations. These actions are not just symbolic, they are devastating for key American industries. Farmers, auto manufacturers, and small businesses are all feeling the pressure. The energy shift. Saudi Arabia and UAE join BRICS. One of the most shocking developments has been the decision by Saudi Arabia and the UAE to join BRICS. Traditionally aligned with Washington, these oil-rich nations are now moving closer to Beijing and Moscow. Saudi Arabia's new deals with China and Russia threaten the very foundation of the petrodollar system, which has underpinned U.S. economic dominance for decades. With oil sales increasingly being conducted in yuan instead of dollars, the financial impact on the U.S. could be catastrophic. What does this mean for the U.S. economy? Stock market instability. Major indexes have already shown signs of increased volatility, with Nasdaq dropping 2% and S&P 500 falling over 1% after Trump's latest tariff threats. Stagflation fears. The Atlanta Fed's latest GDP model is now predicting negative growth for the first quarter of 2025. The end of dollar supremacy? As more countries move away from the dollar, the global financial order is being rewritten in real time. Final thoughts. The world is changing. For decades, the U.S. has wielded its economic power to dictate global trade and policy, but now, BRICS and its allies are pushing back hard. The question isn't whether the world is shifting away from U.S. economic dominance, it's how fast this transition is happening. How will Washington respond? Will America double down on its economic warpath, or will it finally adapt to the new realities of a multipolar financial world? One thing is clear, this fight is far from over. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the U.S. can maintain its dominance, or is the BRICS revolution unstoppable? Don't forget to like this video if you found it insightful. In recent years, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have made significant moves to challenge the dominance of the U.S. dollar in global trade and finance. This concerted effort is seen as a strategic maneuver to reduce their dependency on the dollar and to establish a more multipolar world order. The introduction of alternative payment systems, the creation of a new reserve currency, and the increasing use of local currencies in trade among BRICS countries are all part of this grand strategy. The implications of these actions are profound, potentially leading to a significant shift in the global economic landscape. As the BRICS nations continue to strengthen their economic ties and expand their influence, the future of the U.S. dollar supremacy remains uncertain. This chapter delves into the motivations behind BRICS' actions, the steps they have taken so far, and the potential consequences for the global economy. Stay tuned as we explore these pivotal changes that could redefine the financial world as we know it. The BRICS nations are not just aiming to create an alternative to the U.S. dollar, but are also working on enhancing their own economic resilience. By focusing on mutual cooperation and leveraging their collective economic strengths, they are setting the stage for a new era in global finance. This shift could lead to more balanced global economic power dynamics, reducing the unilateral influence of any single nation. As we continue to monitor these developments, it is clear that the actions of the BRICS nations will have far-reaching implications for the future of global trade and finance. Join us as we delve deeper into the strategies and impacts of BRICS' bold moves to reshape the financial world. The journey towards a multipolar world order is just beginning, and its outcome will shape the economic landscape for generations to come.